Hey guys, it's Jen with Two Ends. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something just a little bit different. I'm going to show you how to do a French manicure, but I'm going to show you two different methods. So as you can see, I have 2 fingers left undone. We'll do each method, one on each finger. I do start every manicure with peel base. If you've been here before, then you know that. And if you have not been here before, well, now you know. Like I said, I use peel base underneath every single manicure. The reason that I do that is so that I don't have to soak them off in acetone. It really is amazing. It works wonders. But if you want your manicure to last, then I definitely would recommend skipping this step. However, if you want to change them out pretty frequently, then I highly recommend you give peel base a try. The most important part is making sure that your peel base is dry before you start dipping. And I'm using double dips powders and liquids. So for the first color, I'm using Charlie's Angels. And for the pink, I'm using Rose Pink. And for the glitter, Pretty Petals. And then, of course, Clear Base. And like I mentioned, I'm using double dips liquids as well. So for the first method, I am using a French dip tray. You can get these from Amazon or Walmart or Double Dip or online anywhere. But what you want to first do is take the white powder and you want to pour it into the French dip tray. It doesn't matter, it does matter actually which side you pour it into, but I'll kind of go into that more a little bit later. But the most important part here is to make sure that your powder is level. And then you're going to want to take your pink and make sure that it is prepared to dip into. So make sure you stir that powder and just get it ready so that you can use it. And then just like a basic dip application, you want to make sure that you put a very thin layer of base coat on your nail. You don't want to make it too thick because if you have too thick of liquid, then your powder is going to be too thick and then you're going to spend a lot of time filing and nobody likes that. So, of course, as always, if you get any liquid on your finger, make sure that you wipe it off because the powder will stick to wherever you have liquid. So what you want to do is you take your finger and very slowly you push the pad of your finger forward. This is how you're going to make the smile. The slower you go, the better, because if you go too fast, then the powder sometimes clumps up or falls onto the rest of your nail and then you mess it up. So just go slowly. And then once you're satisfied with the smile, tap off the excess powder and then just place your finger into the pink. For this method, you don't really want to dip your finger into the powder because if you dip it, then it can mess up your smile line and sometimes push that white powder back onto the rest of your nail. So the lay method is better than the dip method for this. And I really have no idea why I called it the lay method. It's stupid. But anyways, so after you've cleaned up your cuticles, dust off the excess powder, and there you have it. You'll have your first layer of French dip, or French dip of the French dip. Anyways, so then next you want to make sure that you straighten out your tray again. Make sure that you get the powder even and level, just like it was before for your first dip, and then you do the whole thing over again. This is where if you notice that maybe your line isn't as crisp or sharp as you like, or if you need to add white powder in a different place, then it's a little bit easier to follow that line than it is to make the first original line, if that makes sense. And always make sure that you wipe your brush after you have touched the powder before you put it back into your bottle. I'll let you guys watch here for a few. And here is when I want to talk about the differences in the sides of the tray. So you'll notice if you get a French dip tray that one side is deeper than the other side. If you put powder in the deeper side, you will have a deeper smile line. If you use the more shallow side, then it's going to be less deep, I guess. It's going to be more of a wide curve instead of a sharp curve. And I'll show you. On my left hand, I use the deep side so you can see that I have a much deeper curve whereas with the right hand, it's just a very soft curve. So anyways, now that I've written you a novel there, or read you a novel, whatever. So I did 3 layers on this finger because I did not like how sharp that curve was. I went in a little bit further and I softened it up. I did still use the deep side, but I was able to soften that curve up just by knowing where the line already was and knowing where I needed to get powder. So it's hard to explain exactly what I mean until you actually try it. But once you start, if you try to do a French dip, or the French, then you'll know what I mean about being able to line it up with the powder and getting it where you want it. So if I'm confusing you now, I do apologize. It'll all make sense once you start doing it. So I was able to fix it. I was much happier with the smile line on my 3rd dip. I felt like it looked a little bit more even and not as sharp to me. So there we are so far. Once you're done with the powder, then you just pour it right back into your jar. And so here's what I was saying. Remember when I said one side is more shallow and the other side is deeper? I wanted to show you guys. Obviously there's powder left over, but at least you get an idea of what I was talking about. So for the next method that we're going to use more of the traditional how to do a French manicure with the white tape. It's kind of like color blocking. So what I did learn though is color blocking with peel base does not work very well. So I'll show you what happened. There was a major mishap, but I fixed it. So I'll show you what I did. So if you're not using peel base, then you can carry on the way that I am going. If you are using peel base, then I suggest using peel base and then doing another layer of clear powder before you put your tape on. So if you do that, if you use peel base and then you put on a layer of clear and then you can put your tape on, the peel base will not pull up with the tape. So see what I'm getting at here? Because that happened. So when you put your, I don't even know what these are called, your template, yes, we're going to call it a template. When you put your template on your nail, you want to make sure that it is on your nail entirely. You don't want any air bubbles. You don't want any space, because if you get liquid underneath your template, then your smile line is not going to be perfectly straight and you're going to get powder wherever there is liquid. So just make sure that your tape and your template is on really, really well and there's no air pockets. So you do your first layer of base and then you dip your finger into the pink. Now for this, you can do the lay method. The lay method. You can either lay your finger, you can place it into the powder, or you can dip it. It's up to you. I do think that placing it is still a better method, only because if you dip it, then you're just going to have excess powder all over your finger. It doesn't matter which way you choose for this, but I liked the place your finger method. So you want to make sure that you do all layers of pink before you take the tape off. So if you're going to do 2 layers, then do your 2 layers now. And you want to be very careful not to get any liquid on your skin, obviously, but also not to go over your template, because if you do get liquid past your template where the white is supposed to go, then you're going to have pink powder there that you have to remove before you can dip it into the white. It's just not going to look very clean. So see what I'm doing? I'm just making sure that I don't have any liquid where the white is supposed to go. So another thing that I just remembered as I was talking, if you dip your finger for this method while you're trying to do that, then you run the risk of messing up your template. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. In my head, I feel like do the amount of least resistance. And I feel like if you dip your finger, then you can maybe move the tape, even though it's not supposed to go anywhere. But anyways, you see what I'm getting at. So I did try to take the tape off, the template off, and it's really soft. So before you activate your dip powder, I don't know if you guys have experienced this or not, if you've checked it out, but the powder can still be really, really soft. So what I found to be very helpful was to activate it before I took the tape off. This helped to harden the powder so that when I did peel off the template, the powder was hard and it didn't want to stretch off with the tape. So it came off much easier once I activated it. I did still need to use my finger to hold it down so that it didn't pull, but depending on everything will depend on if you have to do that or not. But something else to mention is there is a chance if you activate it before you pull the template off, it might be harder to take it off. So here is where I pulled off my peel base. So you can see the peel base just stuck there, and now I had no more peel base. So what I did, you'll have to do this anyway, whether you have peel base or not. After you take off your template, you want to make sure that you buff the free edge of your dip powder. So we're going to dip the tip of the finger into the white, so you want to make sure that the edge of the pink is soft and smooth. This step isn't necessary, but I will tell you if you don't do it, it's not going to look as clean, because you really want the white powder to butt up completely perfectly next to this pink. You want it to be a very clean, crisp look. If you don't do this, you're just going to have some rough spots and rough edges, and it's just not going to lay as nicely together. The two colors won't lay together as nicely. And then I kind of did the top as well. This part isn't as important because we are going to go in and buff the entire nail once we're done. But so after I was finished doing that, I had to put the peel base back on my finger because I couldn't have one nail with half peel base. So I just took my peel base and I put it on the part where it was missing. So while I am doing that, then I'm going to take this time to point out the obvious difference that the template that I used looks much different than my smile lines look much different than with when I used the tray. Of course, it depends on what template you choose. There's a wide variety of French manicure templates that you can get either online or in the store or whatever, but it didn't bother me. It was not a problem at all that my smile lines were different because I was doing the confetti in this one. You know, the glitter. My niece called it my confetti manicure, so that's how it got the name. So it really didn't matter that my smile lines didn't match, but keep that in mind if you decide to do this. I would stick with one way for a manicure, and then you can try the second method for another manicure, unless you don't care if they don't match. So anyways, I'm yapping away here and I forgot to tell you. So you do just like normal. You put your base coat on. You want to get it as close as you can. You actually want to get it touching the pink powder without going on top of the pink powder. So you really want to make it as seamless as possible. And then you dip your finger into the white powder and dust it off. And now here we are for the second layer. You do the same thing. You just get your base coat exactly where it needs to be without going onto the nail. That's the most important part. Don't get any liquid on the pink part. And there we are so far. Now with this method, as you can see, there is a little bit of a ridge where the two colors met. That's okay, we're going to fix it. But what you want to do first is take your activator and activate the entire nail. Of course, we've already activated the pink part, but now we do the whole thing. And here is where you can get a good idea about the difference in smile lines. But it's looking pretty good so far, I think. So what you want to do to fix that ridge is you want to take either a buffing block, probably a buffing block. I started with a buffing block and I just buffed the crap out of it. You want to focus, obviously, wherever the ridge is at, but you want to make sure you're just trying to smooth your nail out. So make sure that it's completely even and smooth. So if it's a buffing block or a really light grit nail file, you can use that too. You just don't want to file it too far, because what can happen is if you file it too much, then you're going to start to lose some of that color. And if you lose color, of course anything is fixable, but you have to do it all over again. So, and here's so you can see where I took a file, but go very, very lightly. You don't want to file through the color. I've done it plenty of times, so and it sucks if you do that. And there it is. It's not perfect, but pretty darn close. The next step is the confetti part of the nail. So this glitter is so pretty. It's really, really pretty. I do have my flash on. That's why it looks so bright. It is a very bright glitter, but it's not this bright. I need the flash so that I can see my nails because I'm getting old. Uh, Anyways, you can either use an orange stick or a dotting tool, whichever one you prefer. I did find that my orange stick actually worked a little bit better. You'll see that I switch halfway through. It's just, it'll all depend on you. I've had other manicures before that that the dotting tool worked better. So whichever one you want, either one works just fine. But what you want to start with is do a very thin layer of base coat on your entire nail, and then don't do what I'm doing. I found that this particular glitter did not work well with a brush. So we're going to skip this part, pretend I never used the brush, and just pour the glitter into the cupcake liner like I just did. And then we're also going to skip this method that I'm doing, which is placing every single individual glitter piece by hand. It works well for some glitters, but that was a lot of glitters I realized to place by hand. So we're just going to skip to the part that I finally figured out worked the best. All right, so once I got smart, which is right after this part. So after spending quite a while trying to put each individual glitter on by hand, I took my plastic bag. If you've seen my videos before, you know of this trick. It's a very good trick to be able to get those chunky glitters to lay flat. Then what I did, and this is where I want you to start paying attention now. So you take your base coat, and I just put the base coat on the pink part. I only put the base coat where I wanted the glitter to be, and I took my cupcake liner that had all my glitter chunks and I just poured it over my nail. This was so much easier than what I was doing. And then I could take my dotting tool and just move the pieces to where I wanted them to go. It was much easier, and I was wanting to strangle myself for not thinking of it earlier. But I guess I had to go through all of the processes before I could get to this process, which is now how I can show you guys the easiest way to do. So hopefully my experience and my mess ups make your guys' time easier. So once all of the glitter pieces were where I wanted them to be, then I took my plastic bag and I pressed them down so that they laid flat. And then if I needed to add, you'll probably need to do this, but if you need to add any stray pieces anywhere else, then you can do that. So really quick, I just want to give you a little tip and then we'll move on. For the base coat, if you put a little bit of base coat on a napkin, then you can dip your dotting tool into the napkin before you pick up the glitter. That helps. Or sometimes if you see what I just did there, that's what I'm talking about. Or if you dip your dotting tool directly into your nail, wherever your base coat is, to try to get some base coat on the dotting tool, that works too. So just two little ticks. Oh my gosh, I can't even talk now. It's getting late again. Two little tips and tricks there that hopefully makes your life a little bit easier when using a dotting tool. Like that, like what I just did there. Dip your dotting tool into your base coat on your nail, and then you can pick up your glitter chunks. Alrighty guys, I'm going to fast forward the rest of this. We're going to get to the clear powder now. I was having a really hard time getting the glitter to come into focus, so that's what I was trying to do. Once your beautiful, shimmery, shiny, glittery, chunky confetti glitter chunks, once you're happy with everything on your nail, then it's time to do your clear powder encapsulation. Put a layer of clear base over your entire nail and then dip into the clear powder. The reason that you do this is because you are protecting the glitter from filing and buffing. So make sure, it's called encapsulating. Make sure that if you ever use glitter, you always encapsulate it with clear. I tried to get a good shot, but the glitter never went into focus. So sorry guys, it just didn't work out this time. There will be other shots though, I promise. Whenever I have a glitter nail, I always like to activate it after I do the clear. I like to just finish up that nail before moving on to the rest. So that's what I'm doing here, is just make sure that you activate your nails, and it comes into focus here somewhere. I know it. There it is. There it is. So I love this glitter. I feel like it does look like confetti. You can see where I don't have the clear coat on yet on my left hand, where you cannot see all of the colored shifts and the shimmer. It's kind of weird that the camera does that, but all right. So then the next part that we're going to move on to is the rest of the glitter and the confetti. So I did put some on my pinky and my pointer finger, but for those two, I just literally did place every single glitter individually, put base coat on your finger, and then put the glitter wherever you want. It's not that bad when it's just a small section. I just curved it up from my cuticle, and take your plastic bag and make sure that you flatten the glitter pieces so that they're completely smooth, and when you go to buff your nail, it's a smooth nail and they don't get caught on things. So I'm not going to make you watch those two things. Just wanted to tell you how I did them. And then I wanted to make sure that both fingers looked the same, because I did my right hand before I did my left hand. And then once you're happy with your nail and the way that the confetti looks, then encapsulate it with clear powder. So moving on to the thumb, I'm not going to keep the whole part in the video. I'm actually going to cut it out, but I am going to leave the beginning part in just so that you can see how I started it. I did put clear base on the entire thumb, and then I took my orange stick, I dipped it into the base on my thumb, and then I placed the glitters kind of up in an archway so you can see where I'm doing, but that's how I knew I was kind of outlining it, if that makes sense. Once I had that, it was easier to just continue to fill in where I wanted the glitter pieces. And then of course I encapsulated my thumb, and then I needed to make sure to encapsulate my ring finger since I didn't have any glitter on that finger. You don't want to forget to encapsulate those fingers too. It's not necessary, of course. I really do like to protect my nails and the design from buffing. And I had something in my nail here, so I had to get it out. Some kind of fuzzy. And then, of course, once you're all done with all of your nails, then you want to make sure that you activate all of your nails. You have already activated the nails that had glitter, so you want to make sure you don't forget the rest of them. Activator is what hardens your nails so that you can file them and shape them and buff them, and so that they're done, basically. If you don't activate them, then your nails will never harden and you won't be able to file them. I did also want to show you a nifty little trick here. Since I used my orange wood stick to pick up the glitter pieces with the base coat, there was some extra base coat on the end. I just took my file and just filed the end, and it's good as new. So here we are. So far so good. My confetti manicure. The next step is to file them. This is where you want to make sure that they're the shape that you want, the length that you want, and they're all around the beautiness that you want. You do want to take the file and very softly file around your cuticle edge. Make sure you don't file your cuticles, because you will rip them up and they'll be very angry at you. But you do want to file the cuticle edge to make sure that they're softer edges and they're not too thick and they're not too clumpy. If you have an e-file, of course, you can certainly use that. If you don't have an e-file, it's no big deal. You can hand file like I'm doing here. And then after your nails are filed, then you want to take the buffing block and you want to buff your nails. This is where you make them super, super soft and smooth. The more you buff, the softer they'll be. You just want to make sure that any of the rough edges and any of the clumpiness of the powder is gone and soft and smooth. Make sure that you remember to buff underneath your nail and on your sidewalls and your free edge. Once your nails are soft and smooth and you are happy with how they turned out, then it's time to go wash them. It seriously makes a world of difference once your nails are washed from all of the dust and powder. All right, after you have all the extra dust and powder off your nails, it's time for the second round of activator. It is very important that you do remember to do a second round. Activator actually is what helps the top coat to dry. So dipping is a science. You do need to make sure that you follow the steps and you follow them exactly. So let your activator dry. Usually takes about 2 minutes. Once your activator is dry, then you'll take alcohol and a lint-free wipe and wipe your nails. You're trying to get all of the excess, anything actually, any of the excess activator off. If there was any excess dust, then you want to make sure that that comes off too. But most important is the activator, because if there is any activator left over on your nails and your top coat brush touches it, well, then you've just hardened your brush or ruined your top coat. So moving on, I always like to make sure I have a fresh napkin or paper towel for my top coat, because you do want to make sure to wipe your brush in between every single nail. Do not put your brush back into the bottle before, if it's touched your nails, before you wipe it. And always make sure that you wipe in a different spot than before. You don't want to wipe your brush in the same spot that you've already wiped it, because you may have had activator on that spot. See, I wiped in a different spot. The other thing I want to mention is please do not worry about making this perfect. The first layer of top coat should not be perfect. You really just want to get it on there. Put it on as quickly as you can. You really only need about 3 swipes and you're done. Get it on there, wipe your brush, and then wait for the second coat to do your perfection. You can tell when it's good to go for your second coat when the top coat starts to look like it's shrinking on your nails, like shrink wrap. If you remember what shrink wrap looks like. So that's what it'll look like. That's how you know you're ready to do your second layer, your second coat of top coat. I'm going to speed this up in the interest of time because this is already a very long video, but I'll do another video sometime that goes into more detail on the top coat. You want to make sure you don't forget your free edge. Always make sure that you put top coat on your free edge. Alrighty, and there we have it, almost done. Just one last final step. But first, let's look at that glitter, shall we? Oh my God, it's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing in real life, you guys. You have to see it. It's really beautiful. So actually take a look at my smile lines. So this is my left hand. My smile lines, you see how deep they are? This is my right hand. So this one was used with the shallow end of the French dip tray. So the last and final step is show your cuticles some love. Please, 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 please show your cuticles some love. You beat your cuticles up, you file them, even though I told you not to, because that's what we do. Your cuticles need some love, so put some cuticle oil on them after every manicure, and really you should be putting it on at least once a day. There you have it, guys. Hey, hopefully you like this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel below. And as always, I will leave the information in the description box below. See you guys next time.